Hey everybody, it's my mom's favorite web cartoonist, Steve Mills of Worth It Studios again. In my last video, I showed you a very quick glance of how I do what I do. And in this video, I'm going to go a little more in depth and show you the tools and how I set up Photoshop to create the Worth It comic. So let's get started. One of the first things I'll show you here is my layers panel. And as you can see, I start off with a rough layer, word balloons, copyright, layer for text. I will be adding layers as we go, but those what I always start with those. Here you see me sketching, and you'll notice that when I'm sketching, I am using a greenish blue color. And the reason I do that is that if I use, say, black, it would get really confusing while I was inking. So I use this color so I can always make sure I've inked everything. You'll notice I'm doing a lot of quick line work. This is actually sped up video, so don't think this is how fast I draw. And you notice I zoom in to get closer while I'm doing detail work, and I zoom out when I don't need to be that detailed. And I also zoom out to have a quick look to make sure that it looks the way I want it to. You'll also know too that when I'm drawing, when I first start, it's very light, and I've got my Intuos tablet set up so that everything's pen pressure. So if I press down lightly, I only get a light line, and when I press down a little harder, I get a darker line. So I'm getting ready for inks, so I add a layer into my layers panel, and then I change brushes. And I only have a few for cartooning. The first one there is for penciling, and this one I'm using right now is for inking. Then I have a soft edge brush, and I have a texture brush just to round out everything I'm going to need to do. Now this is a lot closer than the last video to my actual process. You're just seeing my process sped up. For little areas of black, I will fill them in onto the inks layer, and for larger areas, I will fill them in later. You'll notice I don't follow my roughs precisely. I only use them as a guide for my inks. I've also learned with the tablet to get a nice smooth line is to make a quick stroke, and if I want a nice sharp edge is to have my lines overlap and cross. You notice I erase along the way, and that just helps me when I'm getting ready to color, that I'm not fussing around with little details. I just do it as I'm working. There are many cases where I will redo lines over and over until I'm happy. Luckily I've been doing Worth It now for 5 years, and I'm getting pretty good at getting the lines the way I want fairly consistently right away. Start to finish up. Again, taking out excess ink. And as I fill in the hand, I usually get fairly close for details like this. Again, I zoom out to have a look. Okay, now I'm ready to start coloring. So the first thing I do is I'm going to turn off my rough layer, and I'm going to add a layer for colors. And the way I choose colors, I have my colors palette, which has a lot of colors, but in this line right here that I'm highlighting are the colors that are specific for the characters that I always draw. fill in areas, you'll notice I'm not using the paint tool, I'm actually selecting. And the reason I'm doing that is because I use actions. And how I use actions, I set myself up with a coloring action, which makes the selection, I expand it, I fill it, and then I turn the selection off. So all I have to do is select everything and press the button, and it fills automatically. And it makes sure that I get right to the edge. So now I'm going to add some texture. So I got my texture brush out and I've enlarged it, and I'm going to choose a yellow. And I'm just going to throw some texture in. A little bit extra, a little lighter. I'm not entirely happy the way that looks, so I'm going to try some blending modes. That didn't work. Neither did that. That's better. So now I'm going to just go into my text layer and add a text box. And this is one of the final stages. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you learned a lot. See you next time.